Welcome like AvCast. My name is Carl Valeri. It's been a while since we've been doing these on a regular basis. SMAC is back. I'm really excited about today's episode. We have a whole bunch of people with us like we usually do. Joining us today is Tom Frick, Russ Roslewski, Leslie Cobble, myself as our co-host. Hey guys, welcome back. This is terrific.
Hello, Carl.
Hey, great
Carl.
to be
Love
back.
it. SMAC is back. I like
SMAC
it.
is back. We are
need
excited.
some kind of theme music for that.
Yeah, and we will. Maybe Russ could put that in the background. And the other person you heard on there is Alex, Alpha Kilo Warrior, better known as, on YouTube, and is our special guest today. And we're really excited to kick this off on a regular basis, especially with Alex and all that he's done on the internet. But before we get started, quick shout out to our sponsors, Aviation Careers Podcast, coaching courses, and also the Scholarships Guide. Go check that out there. If you want to support the channel, it's really easy. Just subscribe. Think about becoming a member, because when you do become a member, all the money that we make on YouTube goes towards putting out scholarships guides for those people that need them. And you can find them for free, aviationcareerspodcast.com/free. Well, without further ado, this is really exciting. Alex has been a real advocate for general aviation. I love your videos, first of all. I want to say that. And also, a big shout out to you, Alex. We just came off Sun and Fun. Thanks for coming, both for volunteering before Sun and Fun and doing recorded announcements, and also for being a co-host on the show. This was like your first year doing that, so thanks so much for being there.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks for inviting me, and it's good to see you guys again. Lakeland is still in the back of my mind, and I was lucky enough to come back to 32 degrees Fahrenheit here in Connecticut, and you guys are having a great grand old time down there at Lakeland. So
it's chilly.
That was my reward.
Yeah,
so.
it was wonderful. And also thanks so much to the rest of the crew that aren't here today. That's Rick Felty and Teresa also. She was involved behind the scenes. Leslie was involved mainly in announcements. She wasn't there. Tom was there live and also working engineering and also announcements and in the field. And of course, Russ was on the deck for most of it. So if you're listening to liveatc.net/SNF on Sun and Fun Radio or the YouTube channel, go at SNF Radio or at Sun and Fun Radio, I should say. You can find our voices almost all day, and you can stream that all year long. But anyway, we want to get back to our favorite guest today, and that is Alex from Alpha Kilo Warrior. Alex, first of all, going back to that channel that you have, I really love what you're doing, and it kind of reminds me of, we used to call them Rick Felty videos, where he would just go out there and just film what he's doing as far as flying is concerned, and that's what resonated with me. So I really haven't been doing a lot of GA flying, and your videos really got me back into that, because you shove cameras everywhere. Not only that, you talk us through things, and you also point out different points of interest, and I absolutely love that about your videos. But let's move back a little bit first. I love to hear people's stories about how they got into aviation and why they started flying. So just kind of back up and tell us a little bit about why you got into flying.
Yeah, so my story, Carl, I think for me personally, it's a very interesting story. I played a lot of flight simulator games growing up in the 1990s when, the graphics at the time, I made sure I had like a Pentium processor, and I'm playing all these fighter games. And then fast forward to what happens is I probably played these games for about, let's say 4 or 5 years. And September 11th happened, and I was 20 years old, and I really took it to heart. I'm sitting there driving to work, listening to Howard Stern on the radio, hearing what's going on happening live. And that day completely changed my life. I wanted to actually quit my heating and air conditioning job, which I was working full time, and I wanted to go into the military. But because I was playing all these flight sim games, I wanted to do something in the Air Force. So about a month after 9/11 happened, I went down to Sikorsky's in Bridgeport, and I signed up for flight lessons down there, and I started flight training. And I had my discovery flight. And after about 7 hours of flight training, I contacted the Air Force recruiter, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm taking all these flight lessons. I started training to show some initiative here." And had an interview actually with the recruiter, and unfortunately I got turned down because of a medical issue that I have. So that kind of stopped that process. But for me, what the catalyst to start my general aviation was September 11th.
Wow. And that I think is a catalyst for a lot of people, interestingly enough, in different ways, just like yours, which that's a wonderful story. Now, how did afterwards, as far as your training is concerned, it really spurred this interest that is a big part of your life now. And I'm sure you thought about going into it as a career since then. But I think what you're doing now may actually be even better because you're inspiring so many different aviators. So tell us a little bit about that process. How long did it take you to get your private?
Okay, so I didn't have a lot of funds when I started flight training. I could only afford at the time, with the way my lifestyle was and being as young as I was, I could only afford to fly like twice a month. And just do the math there. I mean, there's no way really to get ahead with the whole twice a month thing. So when I was younger, I was just kind of it took like almost a year to do my first solo because I sold like about 30 hours and that just takes a long time there. So I ended up taking a 3-year break after that just because I was like, well, I don't have the funds right now. I need to get a raise or get a place of my own type of deal. I don't want to be living at home with mom in my 20s. So different things took priority. And then something happened where a friend of mine at work, we were talking in 2008, and he's like, you used to fly? Like, why'd you stop? I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, we should start going flying again. So my friend Mark that lives in Massachusetts started flying out of Alaska. And he was actually on some Alaska show where he's got a 50 cal on his side of his hip. And they do things crazy in Alaska flying, the big tires, and they can land anywhere. So he kind of inspired me to get back into it. So I started flight training again in 2008 out of Meriden.
Wow. And now fast forward, you got your licenses and you started doing videos and putting them out there. What inspired you to do that?
What inspired me to do that? Well, so I've been flying since 2001. I took a 4-year break. And then after I got my private pilot certificate in 2011, I flew for about another year or so. And then again, the money became an issue. So I wasn't flying as much as I did. So I ended up taking 10 years off. So there's a huge 10-year gap, and I became a rusty pilot. And then 2023, I decided it was time to get actually back into flying again. So I had a 3-month flight review from a flight school in Hartford Brainerd called Learn to Fly, and I explained my situation to my CFI at the time, younger guy. He worked with me, and we knocked as much rust off as he could. And he says, "Hey, Alex, you're ready to get back up there. I'm going to sign you off." And then one of the things he said to me was like, "Well, I'm going to sign you off, and now what are you going to do?" And I was like, "I don't know what I'm going to do." That's a great question. And he's like, "What, are you going to start making YouTube videos?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe I will." So that he planted that seed in my head, and then 3 months later, I'm out, on Amazon looking for GoPros. How much do they cost? Looking up all the mounting. I'm doing all my research, and like anything that I do in life is self-taught, and I like to learn by making mistakes, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. So I like to figure things out, because that, to me, that's rewarding. If I can figure things out my own way and figure this thing out. So I started YouTubing to try to help my landings. So my thought process was mount a camera underneath the wing, angle it toward the nose wheel, and figure out why can I not get butter? I when I stopped flying in 2012, 2011, I was a great pilot, in my opinion, and I took 10 years off. And how come I couldn't just pick up where I left off? So the cameras actually helped me analyze my landings. Why am I always left the center line? Well, let's figure this out. So, I was thinking about renaming my channel "Left the Center Line" there, because it took 6 months to hit that darn center line. I wanted to get out there at the middle of the night and paint another center line where I was landing at Hartford Brainerd, but I'm sure they wouldn't like that.
No, absolutely not. That That's such a cool story. I mean, basically, it was for utility, but also by sharing it, you have so many fans now that love hearing the struggle. That's part of it, and the really cool thing about your channel is so authentic. I mean, it's so cool that you put that out there. I before I have Leslie come and ask, she has a bunch of questions, some really cool stuff. But one thing I want to ask you though is, I watch your airport, Hartford Brainerd, right? That's the main one that you fly out of, and I see that airport so many hundreds and hundreds of times out my left window when I'm landing in Hartford, Connecticut. And I was like, man, that would be so cool to take off and land. It's one of those airports I've never been to. So I'm going to put it out there. And one of these days, I want to go up and fly with you out of Brainerd.
Yeah,
so
I think, Carl, I think we have some of the most friendly air traffic control guys out there. There's 5 of them that work there. I know them all by first name. I know their voices. I actually bring them donuts because I appreciate them. And I'm coming in to land, and hey, Alex, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, guys, it's me. And so I feel like I sometimes get a little bit special treatment out there just because I take care of those guys. But we all work together at Brainerd.
Donuts do help, don't they, Leslie?
They do. I just did that a couple of weeks ago with our tower guys. Alex, so nice to meet you. And so much of what you just said, especially about, getting back in the plane and getting into producing this video content and just kind of picking your way through it and YouTubing and all that just really resonates with me and makes me even more excited to watch the rest of your videos, because I just started watching them this past week.
Wow.
So inspiring. When my husband John and I moved to Hawaii several years ago, we were out of the plane for 18 months, and we felt like we were very rusty then, and we were thinking, how are we going to keep our minds in the aviation game? Because it was our passion. We had owned a flight school and a maintenance shop back in Arkansas, and now we weren't flying at all. And we decided, came in one day and he said, how about we start an aviation podcast? Well, we didn't know anything about podcasts besides listening to them. And long story short, we just started YouTubing everything, what equipment to get and where to post it, all the things. So that really resonates with me. And my next project that, something that we have talked about doing is getting into just filming some of our flights and some video production, and getting it on YouTube, if anything, just to get some content out there for my students. And so the first question I want to ask you is, what kind of equipment do you use? And if for somebody that's just starting out like me, maybe when I want to get some YouTube content out there and record some of my flights, what are some of the 2 or 3 pieces of equipment that you would suggest a novice getting started with?
Okay, so for my inside camera, I use a GoPro Hero 12, and I have a USB-C interface with my aviation headset. So I think adding cockpit audio right live into the GoPro is so important to immerse the viewer of actually what's happening in there. But what's funny is, with just that one camera, with that USB-C going into it, you don't hear the airplane. You have complete noise canceling. You cannot hear the engine. So in my opinion, you lose some immersion. So what I do is I have 2 more cameras. I have an underwing camera, and I use that microphone. Well, that microphone picks up the engine, and depending on whether I mount it on the left or the right wing, if it's on the left side, the exhaust system is on the left side, so it's going to be a little bit louder. You're going to hear the engine more. I like to crank, if I'm on the left side, I like to crank that audio up on departure and just go full power. And if I blow out your eardrums, that's on you. And I do put disclaimers in there, but I want to give you guys an experience of what this sounds like. What I'm finding recently now is an interior GoPro that I have in there. It's called a Hero 11. It's a little tiny little Hero 11. It's smaller, but it also has a microphone inside. So there is a different sound that you get inside the cockpit, Leslie. And I started putting labels because I want my audience to know what audio they're listening to. So I put on like a little quick label, a 6-second label, inside GoPro audio, and then I'll put the level of the background. So I'm playing with the audio levels because, Carl, audio is so important, to tell a story. I want the viewer to be able to hear what's going on with the airplane. What am I doing with the throttle? Different things. And what's nice about the inside camera, Leslie, is in the Piper Archer that I fly, you can hear me pull up the flap lever, clink, clink. So I'm working the plane going on. And I think my hardcore viewers will hear that, and they very much appreciate the level of production that I put into these videos. I'm not trying to be like Steven Spielberg or anything, but I am an artist, so it does come through in making videos. You have to have creativity and you have to have patience. And Carl, I mean, these videos take 2 to 10 hours long. I mean, I'm editing this video for 10 hours, and so it's like, okay, like who in their right mind is going to sit on their butt trying to make this video perfect? And yeah, I'm not, Leslie, I might get like 1,000 views on it, but you know what? I'm not going to, can I swear in here, Carl?
Well, it's a family friendly.
Okay, I won't swear, but I'm not going to put half blank out there, half blank work. I have to go all in, because at the end of the day, if I ever want to go back and look at some of my videos, I want to say I gave it my best. And to be honest with you, Carl, I don't want to watch my videos after I spend 10 hours editing them. I've already seen them 14 times.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Leslie, the other cool thing about the thing I love about his videos is the fact that he labels everything. And that's something else, not to preempt you, but just how do you do that? Like, here's the coolest thing. When you're flying by like I-84, I saw 84 go by and the image went up the highway. How'd you do that?
Yeah. All right. So, Carl, you have to thank my mother for that, because she's my biggest fan. And 2 months into my videos, I text her and I say, hey, Mom, watch this video. And she's like, where are you flying? I don't even know where that is. And I'm like, well, let me start putting labels on there for my mother, because I want my mother to be able to enjoy my videos, not give me a hard time. And so it kind of turned into, hey, I like how you're putting labels on there. Really? Okay, whatever. And so the labels have evolved. So, Carl, to answer your question on how I do the labels is, the aircraft's clearly moving. So that's a challenge right there. And the aircraft's moving and the ground is moving. So I zoom in. If I want to keep the label on a target, I'll pick a guy's house. I'll zoom in onto the pixel level, and it's part of my nerd attention to details being an artist. When you draw and you paint something, you kind of got to get in there. And so I zoom in. I don't use AI. I pick a letter, put it on a guy's house, and then I fast forward to the end of the video, move it, and then I cut it into the middle. So if I'm turning the plane, the letter looks like it's painted on the ground. So it's one of the unique things that I do, and that's why it takes me 10 hours to do this, because if I put more than like 10 labels on there, how long is a label going to take? A label takes a good 3 minutes if I want to get it perfect.
Yeah, and Alex, and I wanted to follow on that. One of my questions I had was, what are some of these different elements and things that you do that set your videos so well apart from some other flying and aviation videos that are out there? I know for me, one thing I love is I won't say the brevity of it, because I know they are long, but they seem to range from anywhere from like 6 to 15, 20 minutes. For me to watch content on YouTube, that's usually all the time. That's my time constraint. So that, and then when you talked about the audio with the engine, I'm thinking to myself, yes, that is why it's so interesting. I mean, I actually feel like I'm in the plane there flying with you and seeing New England, which I have not visited at all. I've been to New York City once. I've been to 35 countries all over the world, but I've not explored the United States except for maybe the lower third of it, and lived in Hawaii for a while. So I was just like, feeling like I was just right there with you and getting to see these sides that I normally wouldn't get to see. So, there's the engine noise. And even when I was watching this morning, and when you're talking about hearing the click of the flaps, and I was thinking, yes, that's so cool. So what else is it that people can expect from your content?
Okay, so I like to keep my videos probably no more than 12 minutes long. And do I expect somebody to sit there for 12 minutes? Absolutely not. So full disclosure, what I want to give the viewer, I want to give them a 30-second hook. And I'm going to give you what's to expect right in the beginning of the video. And I'm also going to timestamp it too. So I'm going to say, I'm not going to get, I would love if somebody watched all 12 minutes of it, but if you can give me 2 minutes of your time. Well, what do you want to see? Do you want to see this particular town? Do you want to see me go right into the downwind? Okay, so the downwind starts at 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Go right there. And I'm not hiding it from people. I'm not saying I'm not gonna handcuff you to the screen. So I put out right in the beginning, here's what to expect. If you want to go to it, go to it. And if you want to watch my videos at double speed, you can do that too as well. A lot of times too, what I do is to not bore the viewer is I use a lot of time lapse. And what's good about the way I film at 60 frames a second. So when I film at 60 frames a second, it allows for some amazing time-lapse footage in 4K, and 65% of my viewers are watching on a television. So I make sure that I upload at super high quality. I'm not uploading for a little tiny device. So that's one of the things. I'm more about the quality. And that's why I want people to come back and say, this guy's taking time, and he's not just being lazy. He's not just throwing up a video out there, and he has this passion for aviation, and I also have a passion for being an artist.
Yeah, Alex. So yeah, I watched your Alton Bay ice runway video earlier today, and that is something that's always been kind of on a bucket list item for me. I mean, it's way up there in New England, way far away from where I live. So maybe someday. But I noticed, all the things that Leslie and you were just talking about. You start off with, hey, if you want to watch the landing, go to whatever 4 minutes and 32 seconds. I'm like, that's really kind of cool, because as you said, not all of us want to see every bit of every video. So I really like that. I noticed the the labels on the highways moving along. But you've really got some very interesting experiences there. I mean, that was, like I said, that was just one I watched earlier this morning. Landing on an ice runway just sounds crazy, and I'm glad that you you were able to put that up. Give us a sense of what other kind of adventures you've had in these videos.
Yeah, so I kind of go through different phases in my aviation journey here, because it really is a journey, because I'm a 300-hour private pilot that knocked a bunch of 10 years of rust off, and now I'm all in. I joined a flight club. I fly 2 different aircraft. I love the Piper Archer. That's one of my most favorite aircraft. I know, Carl, you wanted to know what my favorite aircraft is, and it's the PA 28 180. It's a 1975 Piper Archer. When I get behind the flight yoke, it's like I'm putting on my most favorite pair of socks. Just the smell of it triggers my happiness state. It smells like an old 100 low lead lava lamp, and I just love it.
Yeah, they all really do have that smell to them sometimes, don't they? But we love it.
The other thing I was going to say too is, and this is something that really turns me on about your videos, is the fact that, and I'm kind of a geek for different cities and the information about them, is you put the population down and you put in rivers, and you actually make that connection with the town by not just doing that, but actually pointing out specific areas or famous points of interest, or even points of interest that you've been to, which I think that's really wonderful. And the one thing I want to ask is where's the lighthouses? Do you have any in your videos?
Lighthouses, I have one lighthouse, and it is on Martha's Vineyard. We went last year for the Jaws 50th anniversary, and I went to this lighthouse, and I'm like, wow. I mean, like, I'm not really into lighthouses, Carl, but I know that there's some people that really like them and stuff like that.
That'd be me.
Do you guys even have lighthouses in Florida?
Yeah, quite a few actually. As a matter of fact, that's where I did my CFI turn around a point around Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse. Yeah, quite a few lighthouses actually. Really, really exciting to go out and explore those. And so I'll look for that video, but hopefully you'll throw some more up there for me, because there's a lot of history there too, just for the geek in me. But going back to the actual flying, what Russ was saying is the fact that you bring out not just the flying part, but also the reason that we go flying. And that's not just for the takeoffs and landings, but it's also for the ability to look at the world from a much different perspective, and they see things that we would love to see, and not have to fly a drone, actually be up there sitting in the thing that's actually flying around, which is an experience that you'll live in your heart forever.
Well, Carl, I know you're a commercial pilot. So one of the things I really, really enjoy is being part of the air traffic control system. And so coming out of a class Delta and having Bradley Approach right there, I cannot wait to get on with Bradley Approach and go for my next mission. I'm starting this thing, and I started it in November last year. Is the Class Charlie Challenge. I did my first Class Charlie landing at Bradley. I came in on 3-3 down there, and then immediately asked for a touch and go on runway 24 in the same lap because
Cool.
I felt like I had a good connection with the tower guys, and they were all in a good mood, and that was a really, really amazingly successful video. So then my next Class Charlie challenge was TF Green in Rhode Island. So that did really well. And I was so grateful that YouTube pushed my videos to everyone that lived around the airport down there. So that was another successful a video for my channel. And then just coming off recently in January, I went to MacArthur in Long Island. And that was another Class Charlie challenge. So that was like, okay, so there's a theme here. People want to see me land in these Class Charlie airports. And I was like, okay. So I put out a poll and I asked my viewers, okay, so what's the next Class Charlie? Is it going to be Albany? Is it going to be somewhere in Massachusetts, or is it going to be in Maine? Everybody wants to see me to go to Maine, Carl.
Absolutely, for the lighthouses, of course.
Yeah. So I will make sure that I mark the lighthouses in my fourth flight on little waypoints, and I'll make sure that I have enough fuel, Carl, for that.
Listen, I got to admit this now in public. You know, the only other videos I watch more than aviation videos are lighthouse videos on YouTube. So there you go. I said it. But don't judge me. Tom, have you been up to that area in the Connecticut area doing any flying up there?
Just a couple of times. I've been into Boston a couple times, and then not much in the upper Northeast. So yeah, I enjoy those videos too. It's definitely a different perspective. And Alex, you know, I really like the path that you took, and it's very close to what I did. You know, I too, I was lacking the two things I needed to learn to fly, and that was time and money. You know, and I did similarly to what you did. I came up with a camera idea, and I put a GoPro Pro camera in the plane, and I used to watch my maneuvers and then critique myself and go over again. I never used it for content for YouTube or anything like that, you know. And then so having the cameras and taking my time to, like, I didn't get my private for 2 years for the same reason. It was time and money. So I wanted to know, you know, what's the best advice you can give somebody to, like, just keep plugging away at it? For me, it was the videos that I had, and also you mentioned playing on flight simulators. I'm dating myself. I had Flight Sim 10, and I would go home and I would refly the last lesson that I did until I could save enough money to take another one. And, you know, my instructor was always really amazed at, like, wow, it doesn't seem like you've lost anything, you know, and I try to give that advice to other people too, just to a way to keep your head in the game. So what do you think? What are some of the things that you can do to keep somebody just keep going? That just because you don't do it every day doesn't mean you can't do it.
No, Tom, you're absolutely right. I remember my instructor 7 hours into my flight training, and this is going back, you know, 2001, and he just was like, he's like, you never flew an airplane before? I was like, no. And he's like, it has to be the flight simulators. And back in the day, they weren't not as advanced as they are now with the graphics and that. Now there's VR, Tom. I flew a VR Piper Dakota last year, and I was amazed. I put these VR goggles on, and I can't see my hands, but I look down, and I'm like looking at like the bottom of the plane, and I look all around, and the guy put me at Hartford Brainerd on runway 2 in a Piper Dakota, and I sat there, and I took off, and I'm flying this perfect traffic pattern, and I'm a beam, you know, the numbers, and I'm getting ready to, you know, I said I just want to do a traffic pattern. Well, I reached my hand out, Tom, and I clicked something, and then I lost the engine, and everything goes silent. And the guy, you know, it was his simulator, and I was making this whole video, and I have it actually recorded on video. It was not scripted. I accidentally shut off the Piper Dakota on my downwind, and he's like freaking out, and I was like, no, just get away. I'm like, I can make the runway. So I dead sticked it in virtually in it, and I was like, this is amazing. And I got out of there, and my reaction literally was like a 7-year-old kid. I was like, I want this thing. I'm like, how much is it? He's like $60,000. He sold one, believe it or not, this guy. Twin Fork Simulation, Carl.
Wow, Twin Fork Simulation. Absolutely. Big shout out there. Appreciate that. But and
Yeah,
Tom, you're
so-
dating yourself on the simulators, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know but they worked. It worked good enough. I mean, I had the old SciTech, control wheel and throttle quadrant, and had pedals on the floor, and they worked. Yeah, the other thing I was going to ask is, all that beautiful scenery that you have, planning on expanding. What's next? Where are you where are you taking this?
Okay, so I have a special video coming up this Wednesday. For my 300 hours as a private pilot, I decided to treat myself to one of my bucket list items, Tom. Flew down the Hudson this past Saturday. I flew down at 1,500 feet in Class Bravo with LaGuardia, and it was surreal, Tom. I was like, there was no one there to pinch me, Tom, because I had one of these moments where I was like, is this real? I cannot believe I'm doing this. And I was like, wow, this is real. And I've already sneaked a peek at the video footage. I got 3 cameras going. I got the underwing camera, side camera looking out the side, and I got the cockpit camera behind me. And I can't wait tomorrow, Carl, to start editing this thing. And I'm like, 12 minutes is not going to be enough. But I got to figure out what could I cut out.
Dude, I tell you what, that's my favorite
that's
flight going up the Hudson.
Well, it's one of my bucket list items, just to fly that corridor, out and back along the Hudson.
Yeah, I landed at Danbury because I was practicing for our pal Derek that lives down that way. He and I are going to go up. We're going to do a little Sky X action, but maybe I'll take him down the Hudson and have him show me how it's done.
That's cool. That is absolutely cool. Yeah, I actually get to fly up the Hudson all the time, but a little bit higher, and it's really cool just following it all the way up and watching all the lights go by. I usually fly it at night, and seeing all the different lights from all the different buildings. That's just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But Leslie, I know you had a couple of questions. We kind of cut you off there. What else did you have?
No worries, Alex. I want to piggyback off of one of Tom's last questions about the advice for students. And let's say that John and I are going to go up to New England finally on an extended vacation. What advice would you have for me if I wanted to rent an aircraft and flying up in that area, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, for the first time?
Okay. Do you like high wing or low wing?
Oh, I'm a high wing girl. I'm a Cessna girl.
There's an airport for Bravo 8, and there are no way, shape, or form sponsored with me, but I know the people that run Interstate Aviation. They have a pretty good rental fleet there, and I believe they have 3 to 4 172s that they can rent. Different types of 172s. I don't know if I'm saying this right. The Penyon conversion, is that something? One of those? Yeah. So there's different types, but for Bravo 8, check out Interstate Aviation. Robertson is the name of the airport in Plainville, Connecticut.
All right, I'll have to do that. What about, is there anything dynamics with weather or I just always I picture New England as very busy with air traffic control and main controllers. Is just kind of the stereotype that you hear from us pilots down the South. So anything, aeronautical flying wise, any advice that you would have?
Well, you are correct. It's one of the most busiest airspaces in the country. I personally like to get on with air traffic control, and I just like to have that peace of mind knowing that there's someone there. And if I'm flying solo by myself, I like to speak to air traffic control, get a squawk code, and just be part of the system. Everybody up that way is so friendly. No one's going to give you a hard time. We don't bite. We're all one big happy community. So jump on with ATC, get on with Boston Center. I've actually a lot of the Boston Center people, they know me. They know Alpha Kilo Warrior, and I'm actually friends with a Boston Logan Tower girl, and I made good friends with a Boston Center air traffic control girl that actually just moved up north. Now is moved into Carl's neck of the woods, so she's air traffic controlling down your way, Carl.
Oh, cool. I have to look up and say hi to them. That's for sure. But they are very friendly there. That's for sure, I think. So it's not what you think, Leslie. Everybody is super friendly. Hey, I'm from Jersey. I'm friendly, right?
Well, that's good. Well, most of the time. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. So what are some of your favorite airports to fly into? And I am a food person too. Which
Okay.
FBOs have the best snacks?
Okay, so I have to just start off. One of my most favorite airports is it's a short field airport. I go there for the views. It's Goodspeed. It's Goodspeed in East Haddam. It is 42 Bravo, and it's amazing in the fall time. And I did it in the winter time, and I did it in the springtime. I have yet to land there actually in the heart of the summer, but it's right on the Connecticut River. It's like a 2,200-foot runway. It's narrow. You gotta be on your A game in there. But there's a swing bridge that and there's wires you have to deal with too. Carl, you're shaking your head. Do you know about Goodspeed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've never been in there, but I have a good friend that has started an airline, and guess what their call sign is? Goodspeed. And,
Really?
Yeah, it's an airline
Is that
called
because of Goodspeed?
Yes, because of Goodspeed. That's where they started flying out. They fly floats, and they started doing some float plane flying, and it's actually called Tradewind Airlines.
Wow.
So their call sign is Goodspeed. But that's a little side note. You can find out more on Aviation Careers podcast about that one, but that's different.
And then for my favorite $100 hamburger or waffle or pancake, Leslie, it's 44 November at Sky Acres. Let's covet that airport, and actually, it's one of the few airports that you need to taxi after you land, Leslie. You need takeoff power to get up to the FBO because it's up on a hill. That's a joke.
Wow, I was taking your word for it.
That's so cool, though. That it's funny you said Goodspeed because that's the one airport I still haven't been to. And the person I made friends with who runs this airline, he said, "Hey, you got to come up and check out some of the different places we can go." They actually have this really cool thing at Goodspeed where they do the egg drops and things like they do Santa Claus.
Yeah.
They do things for Easter for the kids. It's a real community airport where people want people to come in and visit. So I love that. So I definitely want to go in there. Maybe we could visit you there.
They're friends with me on Facebook, and so they do have a seaplane Facebook group in there, and they've been trying to get me to come down there and get my seaplane rating. And I think that would make for an interesting piece there, going down to Goodspeed for my seaplane rating. So I'm thinking about doing that down the road. Absolutely.
Yeah, or you can come here to Jack Brown's, either one. We'd love to have you here to come hang out at Jack Brown's Seaplane Base. But that is a cool place to do your seaplane out of, and the swing bridges and all. That's just absolutely amazing. Just gorgeous country down there. That's for sure. The other thing that I was going to say that I love about your videos is that your audience, to me, is people that are just amazed by flying and not really pilots yet, or even may never become pilots, but are just enthusiastic about the flying. And it really does resonate with anybody. I mean, your excitement is incredible. I love the fact you just start talking, and it really is helpful to have someone like you that's out there promoting aviation. So even people that aren't going to fly, at least they can see why.
I try to answer every single comment that comes my way, Carl. I've been YouTubing for, this will be my third year, and every single comment I hand write. I don't use AI for my comments, even though I'm tempted to, because a lot of times YouTube will be like, here's an AI comment. I'm like, that's kind of what I want to say, but I'm not going to start using AI for comments. So every comment on my channel is personalized, replied to me, even if it's just thank you so much and someone giving me a shout out. Hey, I love your videos. I started a TikTok account too, posting some shorts, and I had a guy, hey, next time you're over my house, fly over. And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything right now. And I was like, where do you live? He's like, oh, I live off of 84. And so he started DMing me back and forth. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be over your house at 7:30 tomorrow. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So I was like, hey, I gave myself a mission. I just picked some random guy that's following me on TikTok. Well, I get over his house. There's pink chalk in his driveway, AKW, Alpha Kilo Warrior. His daughter goes out there the morning of, writes my name in there. I was like, well, that's cool. So they filmed me on the ground, and I got back, and he's like, and I didn't see his DM. He's like, my daughter just wrote, my 8-year-old daughter wrote your name in there. Now I was like, well, I got to send her Alpha Kilo Warrior shirt. So I sent her a small. Well, she wears it to school. Now she wants to be a pilot.
That's cool.
I thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool. So you truly are inspiring the next generation of pilots, no matter what age they are. You know, I think that's really cool, man. And that's something I appreciate about you. Not only in your YouTube videos, you give back in many other ways, and even hustling at Sun and Fun Radio. And we do have to make a shout out to them, liveatc.net/SNF, and also Sun and Fun Radio on YouTube. But as far as you're concerned, where can we find you throughout the internet? I know YouTube. It's Alpha Kilo Warrior, and you spell out Alpha Kilo, right?
Yes, it's the phonetic alphabet. It's Alpha Kilo. It's my initials, Alpha Kilo, and then a Warrior was the Piper Warrior I was flying when I made the YouTube channel. Now I fly the Archer, so I wasn't going to change the name, not to Alpha Kilo Archer or whatever. But I'm on Facebook. Obviously, just type in Alpha Kilo Warrior. I'm popped up. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. And I actually have a website, alphakilowarrior.com. And if you want to send me an email, all the way at the bottom is my email on there, alex@alphakilowarrior.com. And I love to connect with my pilot friends. Connecting with other pilot friends that share my passion from the area. I had to write down so many names, Carl, because I have like 15 pilots that want to connect with me up in Keene, New Hampshire. Let's go for a burger up there. Yeah, let's do it. And then I have another bunch of YouTuber friends, Carl, that we kind of get together. I met up with obviously Jamie Beckett is a friend of mine down there, and another YouTuber friend from Georgia. He flew down there, and I had shirts made up for us, and I got to hang out with him and have some amazing brisket in Winter Haven. Is that the place?
Yes, Winter Haven, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful place. And I could not believe that I can just it's like fast food brisket. And I was like, so freaking delicious, man. That was good. I didn't want to leave Florida, man. We don't have that in Connecticut.
Well, come back to Winter Haven. That's where Jack Brown Seaplane Base is. You can actually rent a plane out there.
When's Sun and Fun and for 27? When is that? Because I'm coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to come back for that. And that's coming up in, it's going to be April 6th through the 11th, 2027 for those folks that want to come back down and visit with us. Of course, we'll be here. I'm always here in Lakeland. Come visit us at the hangar here at Aero Center, and also the other folks from Sun and Fun Radio. We'll be out at different air shows too, and hopefully visiting with you, Alex, up at in your home airport. I think that's just it's so exciting to see the video. Oh, so for me, I forgot to mention one of the other things that really resonates with me when I watch your videos is back in the in the 80s when I started flying. That was the places I would go for my cross countries. And you're just down the road from where I did a lot of my training in Groton, Connecticut, which I don't think is too far from you. And it just brought back all these amazing memories. And what it did for me is it got me back to my roots in general aviation and the excitement I had just to get in an airplane and fly from Morristown to Bradley or Hartford, or just to go anywhere in a little airplane from point A to point B, and more so just seeing the world from a different perspective and just hanging out in the air. I mean, that's my favorite thing, is just hanging out in the air and just looking down. And it doesn't matter what kind of plane I'm in. I mean, the excitement of flying up the Hudson River is the same as if when I was in a Warriors and in the jet. I mean, it's all the same. It's just a different window and more air conditioning in the jet. That's it. Everything else is similar, and that's what's so wonderful about this. And that's what you bring out in your channel at Alpha Kilo Warrior, and check it out on YouTube. And also check us out on YouTube, by the way. We started putting videos back out again on YouTube, and we hadn't been doing a lot, and now we're back out there again. Stuck Mike AvCast. I know most of you listen to us. Many more people listen to us than they actually watch us on YouTube, but we're definitely coming back to do more videos and in person at different events, especially at Sun and Fun. So Alex, again, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate this, and please keep doing what you're doing because you really are inspiring all those people that are thinking about flying or people that want to know more about flying. You're doing a great job there.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Tom.
And from myself, from Leslie, Tom Frick, Russ Rosleski, and the rest of the crew, do me a favor. Just get out there and do something involving aviation. Whether it's watching a YouTube channel like Alpha Kilo Warrior, or maybe it's just going out to a local airport and looking out the window at the airplanes taking off and landing. I just had that happen to me the other day. Had a police officer was pulled over the side of the road. I thought I was doing something wrong and said hi to him. He says, no, I'm just watching the airplanes. So maybe that's the next thing you should do, is just pull over on the side of the road, start watching the airplanes. But do something today. Get out there, do some flying, get involved in aviation, whether it's through flying planes, watching planes, simulators, no matter what it is. But get out there and fly. And that's what the other thing I want to do too is make sure you know Stuck Mike is back, SMAC is back. We're going to be putting these out the 1st and the 15th of every single month, and we will be out there in some of these air shows. Both Leslie, Tom, Russ, myself, and all the other crew at the Stuck Mike AvCast. Safe flying out there. We'll talk to you next episode.